Have you ever been accused of something you didn't do by someone who swore they stood for community justice? Because that's exactly what happened to me. It all started on a quiet Saturday morning in Willow Creek Estates, a picture-perfect suburban neighborhood. White fences, trimmed lawns, and one woman who ruled it all. Karen Blake, the HOA president. Everyone feared her. Everyone obeyed her. That morning, I was repainting my mailbox, a harmless DIY job, when Karen stomped up the driveway, clipboard in hand, her signature scowl ready for battle. "Ryan," she barked, "I know what you did." I froze. "What are you talking about?" She waved a sheet of paper in my face. "Don't play dumb. You stole from the HOA fund. We have proof." Now, I'm a school teacher. I barely have time to grade papers, let alone steal from a community fund. I tried to reason with her, but she wasn't listening. Within minutes, the entire street was whispering. Phones came out, neighbors peeked through blinds. Then she did something unthinkable. She called the police. 2 patrol cars pulled up, lights flashing. I stood there in disbelief as the officers questioned me in front of everyone. My heart raced. My students lived in this neighborhood. This could ruin me. "Ma'am," one officer said, "do you have any actual evidence?" Karen smirked, pointing at her clipboard. "Yes, transactions missing from our HOA account, and Ryan's name on the reimbursement list. Except, that was impossible. I was escorted inside, my own home, while the officers searched for financial documents. I felt humiliated. My wife was in tears. But when the officers came out empty-handed, Karen still wouldn't back down. "This isn't over," she hissed. "I know you're hiding something." She had no idea how right she was. But not about me. Because just a few days later, something would happen that would blow the entire neighborhood apart and expose her darkest secret. 3 days passed since the humiliation. Every neighbor looked at me differently now, like I was the thief Karen said I was. The HOA meeting that week felt colder than usual. Karen stood tall at the podium, smug as ever. "Until we recover the missing $10,000, she declared. "Ryan is suspended from all HOA privileges." My wife squeezed my hand under the table. I could feel her shaking. I wanted to shout, to fight back. But what could I do without proof? After the meeting, I noticed something odd. Karen left early, her SUV packed with boxes. And when I walked past her house later that night, I heard a strange metallic clank coming from her backyard, like someone was dragging something heavy. Curiosity, or maybe desperation, got the better of me. The next evening, I went for a jog. When I passed her fence, I heard it again. Thud. Scrape. Thud. I crouched near a gap in the boards and peeked through. My jaw dropped. Karen was shoving something wrapped in black garbage bags into her garage freezer. There were stacks of boxes, labeled HOA records, but they looked wrong, too heavy, too neatly sealed. I took a photo on my phone, just one, but the flash reflected off the fence. Karen froze, her head whipping around like a hawk. "Who's there?" I sprinted home, heart pounding. A minute later, I heard her SUV start up. She drove off into the night. The next morning, I sent the photo anonymously to the police. No explanation, no name. Just a picture of Karen's garage and those black bags. That evening, 2 squad cars rolled into Willow Creek again. But this time, they weren't stopping at my house. They knocked on Karen's door. She tried to act calm, even smiled. But her face went pale as one officer gestured toward the garage. She stammered. "Why do you want to look there?" They opened it anyway. What happened next? I'll never forget. One officer called for backup. Another shouted something into his radio. Neighbors gathered outside as word spread. They found something. I stood at the edge of my driveway, watching as Karen was placed in handcuffs. She kept yelling, "This is a mistake! I was set up!" But the truth was just beginning to unfold, and it was worse than anyone imagined. Blue and red lights flashed across the entire cul-de-sac. Half the neighborhood gathered outside, whispering in shock. The HOA queen herself, Karen Blake, was being led out in handcuffs, but no one knew why yet. The cops didn't say much, only that they had found something substantial in her garage. I stayed quiet, standing behind a group of neighbors, as officers carried out box after box wrapped in plastic. Each was sealed tight, marked with faint handwriting, HOA labels scratched out and replaced with numbers. Then I saw it. One of the officers opened a torn bag near the patrol car, and bundles of cash spilled out. Stacks of $100 bills. Neat, clean, fresh. My mouth went dry. "Is that money?" someone whispered. "Not just money. A fortune." By the time they finished counting, the total was nearly $1 million, hidden in boxes marked as HOA records. Karen was screaming now, her voice echoing through the street. "It's not mine. I was holding it for someone. This is a setup!" But her story didn't make sense. The officers said they'd found financial documents in her desk, ledgers showing transfers from the HOA account, cash withdrawals, and fake vendor payments going back 2 years. Every single one had her signature. Suddenly, everything clicked. The missing $10,000 she accused me of taking. That was just the latest withdrawal from her long-running scam. She had been embezzling from the HOA for years and using her position to silence anyone who asked questions, including me. An officer approached me quietly. "Mr. Cooper," he said, "we reviewed her claims. You were never involved. We're sorry for what you went through." I nodded, speechless. My wife hugged me, trembling but smiling through tears. The next morning, the news vans came. The story spread fast. HOA president arrested after one mailer found hidden in her garage. Neighbors who once avoided me were now apologizing, bringing food, offering help. The same people who whispered behind my back now said, "We always knew something was off about her." But I didn't care about their guilt. I just wanted peace. Still, one question haunted me. Where did all that money come from? HOA dues couldn't possibly add up to that much. The police hinted it might go deeper. Money laundering. Maybe even fraud involving developers. And as it turned out, Karen wasn't working alone, because the next person they arrested shocked everyone. 2 days after Karen's arrest, Willow Creek Estates felt like a ghost town. No HOA meetings, no rules about lawn height, no Karen patrolling in her golf cart. But the quiet didn't last long. That Thursday morning, more unmarked cars rolled in. This time they weren't here for Karen. They were here for Daniel, her husband. Everyone thought Daniel was harmless. A quiet man who kept to himself, always tinkering in the garage. Turns out that garage work wasn't fixing lawn tools. It was counting cash. The detectives revealed the shocking truth. Daniel had been running a secret side business laundering money through fake HOA maintenance projects. Karen, with her position as HOA president, signed off every expense and approved every fake invoice. Together, they'd stolen over $1.3 million from community, funds, and shell, companies linked to nearby developments. The plan was brilliant, until greed made her sloppy. That missing $10,000 she accused me of stealing, it wasn't about me at all. It was a cover-up. She noticed one transfer didn't clear and panicked. Blaming, a neighbor gave her time to move the rest of the cash before anyone looked too close. But when I snapped that one photo of her loading the black bags, her empire began to crumble. I'll never forget the moment the police led Daniel out in cuffs. He looked broken, defeated, and whispered to an officer, "She made me do it." Karen, meanwhile, refused to speak. She lawyered up, avoided eye contact with anyone, and sat stone-faced in court as the evidence stacked higher and higher. A month later, the HOA held an emergency meeting. Without her, I stood up in front of the same neighbors who once called me a thief. My voice shook, but this time it wasn't from fear. "We let one person's power blind us," I said. "Let's make sure this never happens again." The crowd applauded softly. For the first time, the neighborhood felt like a community, not a kingdom ruled by Karen Blake. Karen and Daniel were both sentenced to prison. 8 years each for fraud, embezzlement, and obstruction. Their house was seized, the money returned, and the HOA restructured completely. But even now, sometimes when I walk past their old home, I catch myself staring at that empty garage. A faint chill always runs through me, because it reminds me how quickly a perfect neighborhood can rot from the inside when power, greed, and lies take over. And it all started with one false accusation that led to the truth no one expected. And that's how the truth finally came out. If you stayed with me till the end, you're amazing. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and tell me in the comments what you would have done in my place. More crazy HOA stories coming soon.